Search for some sort of plants in your house or outdoor and set up a still life and start sketching. If you want to draw from direct observation outdoor, that's totally fine too. The key word here is direct observation. Plants have organic lines and organic shapes. That means their shapes are irregular, free flow, and freeform. So loosen up a little bit and stay true to what you see. Do not make things up. Try to include everything you see. Now you're going to add some color. This time I'm using watercolor and I'm applying thin layer of undertone. Undertone is usually a warm colors like brown, but you can experiment. And then I'm going to go add some colors on top of it. So undertone, I used a lot of water. And then for the top layers, I am controlling water so it's not really too much. If you add a lot of water on your watercolor, it's going to get really thin and you won't really have much color. So this time when I'm adding layer, I will add a little bit darker value, but this time I'm going to control my water so it's kind of like a lighter, medium, lighter value. You notice here I'm leaving a little bit of a white spaces in between strokes. It's because I'm leaving my highlight to be unpainted. Unlike oil paint or acrylic paints, watercolor, you start with the lighter colors and you add darker colors over and over. So it's kind of like layering darker values over and over, just like pencil shape sketching. So for the lighter parts, I will leave it sort of open. I would call it from here white space. So these white spaces are actually going to be the lighter value in terms of value scale. Layering is very important in painting and drawing. So here I'm adding more layer. As I add more layer in watercolor, I would reduce the amount of water and increase the amount of paint. So my brush is not completely dry, but somewhat dry to get really saturated, darker or brighter color. When you see your plants or any objects from observation, you would notice that you would see a tint of other colors, and you kind of want to exaggerate it in the painting. So I'm putting a little bit of orange or purple or yellow in places where things are not really orange or yellow or purple, just to add a little bit of interest to the color. For the darkest value, you want to add that complementary color so that you can actually make a really darker version of it, or make it a little bit of a brown, and to make darker value really dark. And this is what I'm doing with the darkest value. And you see how my touches are very careful. I don't want to make a super duper dark outline overall, but I would like to make darker value really bright, bring up the form. And so your brush should be very dry, not completely dry, because watercolor, you need somewhat of water on your brush. It's kind of like a little damp, but it's quite dry. You squeeze out the water from your brush, and then you have more paint, so you can really get dark colors. And add a little bit of a complementary color to make that color tone down a little bit. And one thing you need to remember is watercolor, once it gets dry, it gets lighter. So when it's wet, it looks really dark, but don't worry, once it's dry, it's going to get a lot lighter than it is right now. Once you're done with the direct observational painting and drawing, spice it up with your own creativity. Add some words and text, and or color patterns. Just spice it up however you want it. Don't be afraid, just be creative and have fun.